Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Level Humanity, another podcast. I have a dear guest here, Karen Sheffield from Pachamama VC. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much, Nevsah. I'm really excited to be here on the podcast
Yeah, thanks
conversation.
for joining. And the theme of our podcast today will be remembering the sacred role of capital, feminine wisdom, earth intelligence, and regenerative investing. I'm very happy to see you again, Karen. And we will first start with Pachamama name because it's not the first time I have come across the Pachamama name. One of my best friends actually created a brand called Pachamama many years ago, and she was doing super. She was in the superfood sector, and she created her own superfood advisory company, and also she was going around the world and getting all kinds of superfoods from Asia, from the Amazons,
Nice.
from all around the world. When did your relationship with capital shift from accumulation to stewardship, and why did you name your VC Pachamama?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll start with that second question on the name. So I'm originally from Peru. And so Peru, as you know, was part of like the Inca Empire, and which spanned across many years ago, right? It's a Quechua word that means Mother Earth from the ancient language that they spoke. I wanted to name my firm something that honored my heritage as a Peruvian woman, and at the same time conveyed what our strategy, thesis, ethos is, which is essentially protecting Mother Earth, right, with investments in this case, climate tech, energy industries, a number of other things that just help steward you use the right word, steward the resources. In this case, capital can be, and it's definitely a resource that we can use and leverage to protect nature and the environment. So yeah, that was the genesis of the name. And it took me a while to get to the name, by the way. Like I wanted to really spend time and be thoughtful about it. And I actually woke up in the middle of the night. It was given to me in a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. And I startled my husband awake with the name. It's Pachamama. It has to be Pachamama. And my husband was awakened to that. It's like, okay, you probably need to write it down because you're not going to remember it. So yeah, and so that was the genesis of the name of the firm. But to answer your question, I really like the first question, which was when is your relationship? I believe the your question was when did your relationship with capital shift from accumulation to. I love that question because I really don't think that I ever bought into the accumulation mindset, which is interesting. So in a way, the shift was just like a progression into what I already kind of held as a tenet. Being in Peru, I mean, we were middle class in Peru. I cannot say that we were, like in. I mean, we had times where it was difficult times, but it was we were middle class. But I still think that even then, my both parents were entrepreneurs. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial home, and it was always very clear to me that um, the hustle and bustle of it all really kind of probably shaped my view of what I would be doing later on in life and having my own enterprise of some kind. So, pointing to that later. Uh, but I think my parents, my culture, I think it was my parents, my family, we always kind of put center and front what mattered most. And so I never grew up with the idea that money is this, so this is what I'm gonna make my goal. I mean, it's okay to have a goal. Nothing. I'm not knocking in any other's views down, but like I think it came from an ethos of protecting. I grew up amid that biodiversity, the richness of biodiversity in Peru, and then with parents that were entrepreneurs. So it led to a very different kind of vision in life, I guess. And then to this day, I appreciate experiences more than things. So like I guess the accumulation mindset never really took it in on me, but it was more about what can I do to make sure that the experiences I'm getting are the best, right? Like that I'm like putting myself in rooms and places where I'm experiencing the most that life can offer, if that makes sense, right? Yeah, but we can take the conversation in a
Yeah,
different
beautiful.
direction.
And Pachamama is a beautiful name, and I see that it is already in your innate wisdom, yeah, that shift never happened. Maybe it is just in you. It is just you. And I find, especially in the investment world, I find women, especially with money and relationships, I find that we move with intuition, and our
Hmm.
superpower is that intuitive power, and it's
Hmm.
obvious why the name just came in your sleep,
Hmm.
because we have an innate wisdom. We are very intuitive. We kind of like know when we know. Yeah.
Hmm.
Was
Yeah.
there a defining moment when you realized that investment could either harm or heal, and that choice was personal?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would say, I mean, I think that ever since I was a consumer, right? Like, I mean, since the very first moment you realize that you can make a choice with your money, right? Money does mean something, right? Even in cultures where you transact other things and it's not money, but like you transact with other goods, it's very clear that you get a very clear understanding of what is value from very early on, right? What is valuable to someone else, right? I did end up studying economics in college, so the utility curve and understand, which is just like another word for like happiness curve, right? Like what gives someone happiness? Is it this good that makes you happy? This other one, and then right? And then transacting that in that way to make or exchange in that way to like so that both parties are happy at the end, but one might be happier than the other. So like you start realizing that ever since you're a child, pretty much, right? Like I mean, I think you've definitely seen toddlers like it's not toys away from each other or whatnot again. So we actually all learn about the concept of value and utility really early on, and it's almost like human nature, right? But I would say that I learned all of this as I went through my career as well, that concept of value stayed with me, and understanding what is it that I can do with my resources, whether that's time, money, advice, right? And understanding that it can be limited, but then you can always I work hard, so I would say like I can always work and get more in the door if I need to like support my family and whatnot. And I think women are also great at that. Really, we just like we love taking care of our people, right, and communities, and so we will do whatever it takes, right? And so it's just, there's always been there. It's like I can always work harder or more and get resources as needed. But I think I understood also at some point in my life that I'm only it's also important to take care of yourself, your health, and everything. It's integral, right? So, yeah, but it started, I would say it started really early on. This concept of understanding that my resources, my dollars can do good or can do worse. And then you've seen it in the tech world too. There are like great startups that are like truly helping humanity advance. And there are others that you scratch your head and you wonder how. How did you become a billion valuation? And then it doesn't seem to be doing all that great for the world, right? Like so, and in some ways, active harm. So yeah, I learned that really early on.
And how did your own life experiences awaken your sensitivity to the feminine, the
Mm.
cyclical and the unseen forces behind value creation?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's that's an interesting question because I would say that I always felt like as a woman I mean, let me take a step back. I think that yes, women we have superpowers. That's clear to me, right? But I think the part that I like about my femininity or being a woman, and it's the community strength that I feel I carry with me. I don't know how to explain it, right? Like I do think that the concept of Pachamama is giving, like a protective, like being like a defender of of that which cannot be defended, right? And I do feel that identity. But
Yeah,
I
like
would say,
mothering the
yeah,
founders, like true
yes,
support,
yes,
you
or
know.
just like, and then just everyone, right? Like, I mean, sometimes people ask me, I've come across in conversations with either potential LPs or just people in general that ask me, oh, do you have children, right? Like, because the name is very suggestive, right? Like, I invest in climate and I care about climate, so I think that that's one of the questions I get sometimes, and then when they're surprised that when I say no, I don't, but I do think that my passion for fixing the climate crisis goes way beyond having my own children. If I had them, of course, that's a big motivation too. But I think all the time about what I'm passing on to the next generation constantly. And I'm seeing people around me, whether they are older or younger, as people to be cared for, right? Like, I don't know, there's a really instinct, there's a big instinct in me, and that has to do probably a lot with the fact that I'm a woman. It's a very instinctive protective nature. uh, but I think that that's something that I definitely carry in my day to day, and I do try to honor that. I do try to be compassionate. I do try to be, like, it is hard when you when you're also building your own thing, and I can't say I'm perfect, as most of us are not, right? No one is perfect actually, but I think that that's part of like what I carry and try to carry in my daily interactions and in my investment practice too.
Your values
It's,
are now being reflected into, Pachamama. That's beautiful. And, hearing these
thank
are,
you.
very beautiful because like I'm also, um, even as a teacher, I'm supporting women and empowering women, and also, understanding the value of investing in good. Like you said, some projects, some companies, you look at them and like,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
use. It's
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. Feminine
Yeah.
intelligence, with feminine intelligence, it's a different perception. Feminine
Hmm.
intelligence values intuition, patience, interconnectedness. It has this mothery energy. How do these qualities show up in your investment decisions today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd love to talk about that. I would say that first of all, it starts in the diligence and even just like the strategy, right? Like, there's a sourcing and part of the process, then there's like the diligence, and then there's the actual investment and the post-investment support that you provide to portfolio founders, right? So I really try to instill from very early on the strategy side, what is it that I want to invest in, and more importantly, probably what I don't want to invest in. So the list of things I don't invest in is probably longer. And then that leaves room for like what actually makes it. But that's like a nature of that's part of like how it works in VC, right? I mean, you end up investing in 1 to 5% of the companies you deal. It's just it's very few because, well, there is like a specific thesis, but it also has to do with the power law, right? And you're gonna see a lot of good companies, and it's really hard to say no to good companies to make room for the great. It's really difficult, right? It's not a job that I. It's not like we take satisfaction as we see saying no. Maybe some do, I don't know. Not me, right? Like, I mean, it's very difficult to say no to really good entrepreneurs and good companies. But I would say it starts with that. So, in the sense that if I say no, I want it to be a well-reasoned no, and I need the founder to understand why not. Um, and then it's also about like the care of the from the moment you start diligence with those founders, you're developing a relationship. This is in a lot of ways, and I know you probably have heard this, which is slightly depressing, but in a lot of ways, the relationship between a founder and an investor is over 10 years long and longer than a lot of marriages. I've, Everyone keeps saying using that expression. I find it slightly depressing, but particularly because I've been married for 12 years. So, husband and I are like just past that, right? But anyways, so I think that during diligence is also important to continue developing the relationship, and then especially more important, or even like more fulfilling then is after you make the investment. How are you supporting the portfolio founders? How are you helping them grow? How are you helping them in like that sometimes crisis moment call, right? Or like do they feel comfortable giving you that first call? Or who are they going to with the first call, right? Or for the great news as well, and just continue building. And it is important to develop that relationship with founders because it is a 10-year journey. And even especially more if you're an angel or a pre-seed, the relationship counts for a lot. We can talk about the legal aspects and whatnot. A lot of investors assume that if you are a pre-seed investor, okay, it's enough to put a pro rata clause there in your side letter or whatnot. I mean, that's all great, and you should do it. That's the great that's standard and a way to cover your bases if you will. But at the end of the day, it's really gonna be the relationship with the founder that goes far for to you know
Yes. Yeah, when you build
lose.
that relationship, like in marriages, like you said,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
build a strong relationship that works on both sides, because then you see the company grow and yeah, it
yeah.
works on both sides. Yeah. How do you hold conviction without domination and clarity without aggression in a financial world built only force and speed?
Yeah, I love that question. I mean, yeah, it is a very, I mean, as you know, VC is a very, it is a very competitive and yeah, aggressive industry, right? So you do have to have a strong conviction. I mean, the clarity and the conviction honestly comes from the moment you draft a thesis and you understand what is it that you will invest and what you don't invest in, right? I think at this point I've gotten so clear on that I can take a look at a pitch deck in 1 minute and say, this is not for me, or yeah, I would like to advance with this. Yeah, this kind of it. So the clarity starts with that, and that's really important. And I think a lot of emerging managers um, um, would be well advised to, and I do that when I help emerging managers, and I was just talking to two of them yesterday. I think that's one of the first things I tell them is you really want to spend time in your thesis. Your thesis is everything. It will form the decision making of who you choose to work with and who you don't choose to work with in terms of the founders and the companies you back. So it starts with that. And then, if you are, like I said, there are ways to say no to founders, and as long as you explain clearly what is it that you do, then it should be fine. But yeah, you do have to remain focused. I mean, I do think a lot of VCs during tough times have had to pivot or felt like they had to pivot their strategy. And then there's the tourist VCs that I'm sure you've heard about that one time they were investing in crypto, now they invest in AI, and now they invest in some, like I think for me, what has worked was staying consistent. I stay consistent from day one with the thesis, right? And so we didn't really sway or change anything just because things got tougher or, like I think that's the clarity and focus that helps me stay.
And what signals tell you that a founder or a project is in right relationship with people, planet, and profit, and how do you decide?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question too. Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a number of things we look at. I think first of all, from the climate perspective, I like to understand the impact of the technology, and I dig really deep. Not only obviously with the TEA and experts, technical experts, to look at if anything is hardware, deep tech, even software. Honestly, so we do have like technical experts that help us assess that. But it's also like in the way the founder is building and the relationships they build with suppliers, with others in the industry. It's really being able to pick up the phone or get some references from that founder in terms of potential customers or other prior investors. It really is a pre-seed about the founding team. It really is. I mean, it's less about the technology itself and the product. Yes, we of course diligence that as well, but we know that that's going to pivot several times at pre-seed, several times. It is a long journey. So really, what we're assessing is the character of the founder and the founding team, in how they build relationships. Did did they do what they said they would do? The integrity, right? the claims, right? Like a lot of founders make a lot of bold claims. Like, and the claims live up to it, right? Like during the technical and diligence or anything else. Um, I like to see what is the why behind the company, right? Like, so yeah, you're building, I don't know, uh, technology that makes data centers run more efficiently. Why? Like, what was the problem? Take me through the journey of like how did you become a founder in that? Or like, I want to hear like a strong why, right? And I think that if you don't have a strong why, when things get really hard, you might quit too easily, or you might have a plan B lined up, and that's probably not the
Yeah,
kind
we
of
are
founder
very
I like to.
similar. We have a very similar perspective on that because knowing your big why, being on a mission helps you go through a lot of crises, many crises. But if
Yeah.
you're not clear on why you're doing what you're doing, like you said, and the
Yeah.
second thing you said is the character of the founder and the founder team. I think integrity and doing what you say and showing up, you know, every day and not making claims that are not aligned with who you are, what you're doing, your project. I think these are very important. I agree. Uh, what does regenerative capital mean to you beyond sustainability frameworks and impact metrics?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'm still actually learning what it means, generally speaking, to others. And then I have to admit, it's not other than the concept of regenerative agriculture, which of course I'm familiar with. I am still familiarizing myself and trying to understand what it means to me. I mean, there are new, that's not a new concept, obviously, right? Like, but to me, when I hear regenerative, it means you are kind of like setting things back to the way were supposed to be. Um, so if that's the the definition or what I want to define it as, then we have a lot of work to do when it comes to Mother Earth. It's Earth continues changing and evolving. Even without our intervention, it will continue changing and evolving. But I think it's very clear, right? Like when people sometimes want to argue, fight me, that the global warming, climate change is not uncausable. You can clearly see that the correlation between the industrialization era and the global warming, it just totally takes off, right? Completely spikes up, right? Like right after that. So it really is upon all of us to get nature, Mother Earth, back to its state of, if not the original state, maybe that's impossible, at least to a state where we can cohabitate together and we're not extracting the time, right? Like it's not like that's nature and I use it to my purposes and this is me. That's the otherness of nature, biodiversity, animals, everything, and this is me doing my thing here, tinkering around with my tech toys and whatnot. It's gotta be integrity, right? So I mean, it's almost as if I see it like a regenerative is part of it all, but I even used a word like I would even use a word like integration, like integrative, like we're all part of the same, right? And until we understand that, I don't think we're gonna make investments that will help regenerate,
How do you
right, our
see
Mother Earth.
Pachamama VC contributing to healing, not just systems, but collective consciousness and money around money?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm probably gonna be my entire life I want to live to answer that question, and hopefully Pachamama ends up becoming a net plus and a net positive in all of this. It is obviously my number one goal, but I mean, I see it as backing technologies that are helping do that and are contributing to do that, right? In a world where a lot of capital is going into other things that don't have anything to do with it and contributing to it, I want Pachamama Ventures to be this firm that really invest in technologies and companies that are getting us to nature positive, to a regenerative, Mother Earth, that we can get back into balance, that really essentially reconnects us back to nature and understanding that we're not, it's not unlimited, right? We have been given this planet. There's no planet B, no matter how much people want to talk about it. There's no planet B. We have this planet, and that we have
Not
to
yet,
take
at
care of it.
least,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah,
not happening in the next 100 years for sure. But that's my guess.
yeah.
Besides all the work that's been, done. And what kind of founders or initiatives do you feel spiritually and ethically compelled to support, even if they challenge traditional VC logic?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, and a lot of our portfolio companies reflect that for sure. I mean, I would say that the companies we love to back are companies that are very clear on their mission again. They start from a very strong problem case. I mean, it's very clear that they're solving a big problem, a huge problem. Um, like we do like to invest in breakthrough technology, more so than incremental. Although there are incremental technologies out there that really are needed for sure, but I think in my VC model, yes, I'm thinking breakthrough. And then I would say that um, in terms of the founders that we love to back, I think it's very clear from the very first conversation, actually. If they're passionate to solve the problem and they, if I get a sense that they can run through walls to solve it, and I develop a relationship and I get financial conviction, that's the more important part. Um,
It's very
yeah.
interesting, right? We women, I mean, because I've been, in conversation with hundreds of VCs and investors, in the
Yeah.
space for many years. The way women invest intuitively is very different. It's like we know when someone is sincerely interested because we are more emotional and we are
Mhm.
connected with that emotional spiritual world. I think we can see what is there behind the
Mhm.
physical appearance of individuals. And we know, people who are sincerely interested in solving a problem or on a mission. They kind of like have this different energy
Yeah.
around them. We kind of
Yeah.
like feel it and we sense it. I sometimes tell people that when I see an individual, I sense the unstoppable energy, I sense the unstoppable mission energy. Like when people are on a mission, you know, and that's how they become unstoppable. When founders are on a clear mission, it's in their
Yeah.
energy, it's in their vibe. And we
Yeah.
women, I think, are connected with that vibe, and intuitively we know when we see that,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think it's like honestly, like yeah, I think the female part of that helps me with that, and I think also like I've had to train myself to really pay attention, right, to others. I mean, like, I'm typically very extroverted, and I married a very introverted person, the opposite of me, right? So, and I surrounded myself by introverted people too. So, personality type also has something to do with it, probably. But I mean, I actually have to tune myself to listen, and I've always been like kind of like I condition myself to do more active listening because of the introverts that I had around me. And I think it's part of female, it's part of personality. There's a number of factors, right? Probably part of my journey as well, being raised by two entrepreneurial parents. So I recognize something in those founders that I saw in my parents, maybe. I mean, there's just so many things. I mean, I think human beings are fascinating because we all carry these different things that are forming and shaping our visions and our way to go in the world. Uh, and sometimes we don't account for it. Oh yeah, or we take for granted, right? And so it's fascinating.
Yeah, agreed. It's fascinating. And how has embracing female leadership changed your relationship with authority and influence?
Oh, sorry, what was the last part? How was
How
it change
has
what?
embracing feminine leadership changed your relationship with authority and influence?
Oh, yeah. I love that question. I mean, ooh, that's a good one. I would say that growing up, I did have a great role model of female leadership in my mom. My mom well, she's still with us, but like I mean, at the time she was studying medicine. When she was younger, she studied medicine, and she was one of the few women to do so in the back in that time in Peru, and she rose to the rank. She was a doctor, a neurologist in Peru for 30 years, and then she retired just recently, 5 years ago, moved to the US, right? But very strong woman. I mean, my mom was a candidate for Congress in Peru at some point. She rose to be the director of the clinic at the hospital she was working at, and she held at some point 3 jobs just to put 3 kids to high school, college, and everything in between. So I did have a strong female leadership role model in my mom, and I still do. I consider her my best friend, and we talk twice a week at least. So, like I was very lucky to have a mother whispering in my ear that I can always do whatever I wanted to do or set my mind to do. That there was like, if someone could do it, why not you? That was a favorite phrase of mine, and of that she would say all the time to me. Well, yeah, if someone can do it, someone's gonna be the first. Why not you? Why not you? Right? So go do it, right? Set your mind to do it and do it and work to do it. And so I think the role model part is really important. And I was lucky. But if you don't, and then in industry, like I didn't see role models for a while until, I would see Carla Harris, Indra Nui, some women, big women, female role models in the finance world and investing that I started. It is important to see though. If you don't see yourself represented, it's much harder to kind of get, like get going, right? Unless you're incredibly self-motivated. And, like some people are incredibly self-motivated. And I think I like to think I am, but certainly seeing the role models helped. And then that shifted my perspective into thinking, okay, leadership can look like this. VCs can look like this. Okay, that now we're going somewhere, right? And so when you start seeing that modeled out, it gives you courage. It gives you start wanting to see what they did differently. Is there like a path that they follow that I can, are there breadcrumbs behind that I can follow? And right. So I started listening to podcasts and just like seeking these women out. I mean, I ended up working at PepsiCo when Indra Nooyi was the CEO. And this is like years after I was dreaming of it in Peru when I was still in like early years in college before I transferred to the US. I was already watching her and admiring her. And I ended up working at PepsiCo, and it was a dream to work when she was the CEO there. Um, so I think the way it affected me is understanding that there is so many different kinds of uh, leadership. There's not one kind. Not just because you see the one that keeps talking and talking that has a talking stick, that means that it has to be that's the right. Like, I mean, I think we saw it during the pandemic too, right? New Zealand's prime minister and a lot of women leaders around the world, political figures and whatnot, that rose to the challenge, and that's inspiring to me. Yeah.
Let's come to some philosophical questions while we are now almost at the end of our time. Uh, when the world feels disconnected and extracted, what truth brings you back to your center?
Oh gosh, wow, what a question. Um, the truth is that we all need each other. We are human beings. We want a sense of belonging and connection. So when it feels disconnected, you just have to remind your heart with the knowledge, right? And that's what I try to do. That's not true. We're not disconnected. We are connected, right? I think Jane Goodall, late Jane Goodall would have said it better than me, right? We're all interconnected. Everything matters. The connections you're making, calling your folks, telling them you love them, right? If they're apart from you, and building community, that all matters. So that's the truth. I try to remind myself and act on it.
There's one more question before I end, which I usually ask to all of my guests. If you could leave one message for the future generations of women moving capital with consciousness, what would that be?
Oh gosh. Well, I would say, don't be shy to ask for help and reach out to others that are a couple steps ahead. Just don't hesitate. Send that email, send that note. ask us, right? We want to help. Um, there there are many ways that there are many women out there that are ahead of you, a few steps ahead of you that want to help. So don't hesitate.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Don't hesitate to ask for help because we women sometimes tend to do everything ourselves and maybe sometimes even tough on ourselves.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I know I
Thank you,
am.
Karen.
Yes.
It's lovely seeing you and yeah,
So
beautiful conversation, great messages and yeah.
thank you for your time and energy. And I look forward to reading your last book, Nevsah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that. Thank you. Yeah, next level woman. Thanks to everyone who is listening and make sure you subscribe to our channels and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.